Before the arrival of European colonial powers, Southeast Asia was not divided by clearly defined borders as it is today. Instead, political authority was organized through a mandala system, where power radiated from central kingdoms and faded gradually toward the periphery. Territories overlapped, loyalties shifted, and borders were fluid. In this system, both Siam, modern Thailand, and Cambodia existed as regional powers. Cambodia, once the center of the mighty Angkor Empire, had gradually weakened after the 15th century. Siam, rising in strength, expanded its influence over many former Khmer territories, including present-day Battambang, Siem Reap, and Sisaphon. By the 18th and early 19th centuries, Cambodia found itself trapped between two stronger neighbors, Siam to the west and Vietnam to the east. As a result, Cambodian kings often sought foreign protection to preserve their sovereignty. This vulnerability later opened the door for French intervention. France entered mainland Southeast Asia in the mid-19th century, establishing control over Vietnam, Laos, and Cambodia. By 1863, Cambodia had become a French protectorate. The French colonial administration aimed to create a stable and clearly bordered Indochinese federation, which required redefining traditional territorial arrangements. At the same time, Siam remained formally independent. However, it faced constant pressure from Western powers. France, seeking to consolidate its Indochinese empire, gradually forced Siam to surrender influence over neighboring regions. This historical background laid the foundation for a series of territorial negotiations and exchanges between Siam, Cambodia, and France, negotiations that would permanently reshape the map of mainland Southeast Asia. The French colonial project in Indochina was not only about economic exploitation but also about geopolitical consolidation. France sought to create a continuous, defensible territory stretching from southern China to the Gulf of Thailand. To achieve this, France needed precise borders, something that had never existed in traditional Southeast Asian political systems. Colonial officials began mapping, surveying, and documenting territory according to European legal standards. Siam became the main obstacle to this ambition. Although independent, it had long exercised control over western Cambodia and parts of Laos. France viewed these areas as historically and culturally linked to Cambodia and Laos, now under French protection. Through diplomatic pressure and military intimidation, France gradually weakened Siam's position. Several treaties were imposed. 1893 Franco-Siamese Treaty, Siam ceded territories east of the Mekong to France. 1904 Treaty, adjusted borders between Cambodia and Siam. 1907 Franco-Siamese Treaty, the most significant agreement regarding Cambodian territory. Under the 1907 treaty, Siam returned Battambang, Siem Reap, and Sisaphon to French-controlled Cambodia. In exchange, France returned Trat and some coastal areas to Siam. From the French perspective, this exchange was a strategic success. It unified Cambodia territorially and strengthened French control in the region. It also reduced Siam's influence over former Khmer lands. However, these agreements were negotiated under unequal power conditions. France possessed modern armies, naval forces, and international backing. Siam had little choice but to comply in order to preserve its sovereignty. Thus, colonial geopolitics, rather than local consent, determined the fate of millions of people. The 1907 territorial exchange marked a turning point in Thai-Cambodian relations. With the return of Battambang and Siem Reap, Cambodia regained lands that had been under Siamese administration for nearly a century. For Cambodia, this was symbolically important. These regions included Angkor, the spiritual and historical heart of Khmer civilization. Under French rule, Angkor was restored and promoted as a symbol of Cambodian national identity. France invested heavily in archaeological research and tourism development. While this strengthened Cambodian cultural pride, it also served colonial propaganda, presenting France as the protector of Khmer heritage. For Siam, however, the loss was deeply painful. Many Thai elites considered these territories historically connected to Siam. Their loss was perceived as national humiliation and reinforced fears of Western imperialism. As a response, Siam initiated major reforms under King Chulalongkorn, Rama V. Administrative modernization, legal reform, and infrastructure development were accelerated to prevent further territorial losses. Politically, the treaty pushed Siam toward a more centralized, modern nation-state model. This transformation later helped Thailand survive as the only country in Southeast Asia not formally colonized. At the same time, the new borders created lasting ambiguities. Some areas were poorly mapped, and local populations were rarely consulted. This sowed the seeds for future disputes, particularly around border temples and mountain regions. Thus, while the 1907 exchange stabilized French Indochina in the short term, it planted long-term tensions between Thailand and Cambodia. Territorial exchanges were not merely political acts, they deeply affected ordinary people living in border regions. Before colonial borders, Khmer and Thai communities intermingled freely. Trade, marriage, religion, and language crossed political boundaries. Identity was often local rather than national. After 1907, people who had lived under Siamese administration suddenly became subjects of French Cambodia. New laws, taxes, and administrative systems were imposed. French became the language of power, while Khmer was promoted as a cultural symbol. Many local elites lost their former positions. Buddhist monasteries had to adjust to new authorities. Trade routes were redirected toward colonial centers like Phnom Penh. Culturally, the French emphasized Khmer heritage, especially Angkor. This strengthened Cambodian national consciousness but also marginalized mixed or hybrid identities in border regions. Meanwhile, in Thailand, the loss of Western Cambodia fueled nationalist narratives. History textbooks emphasized resistance to colonialism and portrayed territorial losses as injustices. This narrative still influences Thai public opinion today. For border communities, identity became increasingly politicized. People were forced to choose between Thai and Khmer identities, even when their families had lived between cultures for generations. Over time, these imposed identities reshaped social relations, sometimes creating suspicion and resentment where cooperation had once existed. Thus, colonial border-making transformed not only maps but also minds. The territorial exchanges of the French colonial period continue to influence Southeast Asian politics today. One of the most visible examples is the dispute over the Preah Vihear temple, located near the Thai-Cambodian border. Based on French-era maps, the International Court of Justice ruled in 1962 that the temple belonged to Cambodia. Thailand disputed the interpretation, leading to periodic tensions. Similar disputes have emerged in other border areas, rooted in colonial mapping practices that prioritized European convenience over local realities. Politically, these historical experiences shaped national identities. Cambodia's modern nationalism is closely linked to the recovery of Angkor and Western territories. Thailand's nationalism emphasizes survival and resistance against imperialism. Both narratives originate partly from the colonial-era treaties. Economically, former exchange regions like Siem Reap have become major tourism hubs, benefiting from their reintegration into Cambodia. At the same time, border trade remains sensitive to political relations. Culturally, memories of lost or regained lands continue to influence popular media, education, and political discourse in both countries. In the 21st century, ASEAN cooperation has reduced the risk of armed conflict. However, historical grievances have not disappeared. They remain latent, capable of resurfacing during political crises. Ultimately, the territorial exchanges between Thailand and Cambodia during the French Indochina period illustrate how colonial geopolitics reshaped Southeast Asia in lasting ways. Borders drawn by foreign powers continue to shape identities, relationships, and conflicts more than a century later. Understanding this history is essential for building a more peaceful and cooperative regional future.